States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jerry, could you please call this one?
Trustee Gray?
Present.
Trustee Caprio?
Present.
Trustee Rogers? Trustee Sweet?
Present.
Trustee Kazmina?
Present.
Trustee Backel?
Present.
Mayor Bublick?
Present. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to table item I-2.
I'll second that.
One second here. All right, so we have motion and then please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmina?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers? Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Okay. Recognition. In the 19th year of the Community of Nature and Harmony Awards ceremony tonight, we gather to recognize those individuals and groups who have demonstrated a commitment to the environment and in the process have significantly contributed to the village of Homer Glen. So without further delay, Trustee Sharon Sweet will start the award ceremony.
Thank you, Mayor. Welcome to the celebration of Homer Glen Lands Day, which is celebrated in conjunction with National Public Lands Day on September 26, 2020. This important day is set aside to show support for recognizing and protecting significant areas in the natural environment. The village proclamation written for this day in 2001 states, "The village of Homer Glen was founded and incorporated in large part due to the desires of its citizens to preserve the unique and diverse components of the natural environment within the village and to take steps to assist in the further protection and beautification of that environment." Through the efforts of the Environment Committee, the village created the Community and Nature in Harmony Awards in 2002. Now, in 2020, the 19th year for awards, the village again recognizes individuals, businesses, community organizations, and governmental agencies that have demonstrated commitment to the environment and in the process significantly contributed to community pride through the preservation, restoration, and or beautification of land within the village of Homer Glen. In addition to tonight's award ceremony, the Environment Committee is coordinating two other activities to commemorate Homer Glen Lands Day. This year, we're going to plant an evergreen at the Goodings Grove Park and a shade tree at Glenview Walk Park. Also, to commemorate Homer Glen Lands Day, the committee will be promoting a casual community cleanup day that encourages residents to pick up litter in an area close to their neighborhood or just get out and enjoy the day at a park or a trail. Garbage bags, gloves, and grabbers will be available at the Scarecrow Cross table in front of Village Hall. You can pick that up on Saturday, September 26th from 9 a.m. to noon. For those who want to choose their own day, supplies will be available at the Village Hall for a limited time. Now for tonight's award presentations. During the awards recognition, we are honored to have the assistance of our Homer Glen Mayor, George Lucas, who will assist in presenting the certificates to individuals and groups. We would like to thank the members of our Environment Committee for coordinating this program. The co-chairs of this committee are Ruben Kazmino and myself, Sharon Sweet, Nancy Carlson, member, Bob Moses, Andy Pinelli, Cynthia Bertay, Margaret Sabo, Joe Therese, Gary White, and staff liaisons, Melissa King and Sue Steinman.
Thank you, Sharon. It is with great pleasure that the Environment Committee presents these awards to recognize how individuals can influence and care for the natural environment and to support businesses and organizations who showcase Homer Glen's special character and generate community spirit. We have 9 projects that are receiving awards this year. To help move things along, we will ask that you come forward as I read your name. Proceed to the mayor to receive your certificate and have your picture taken, and then return to your seat. So coming up along, we have the 2020 Community and Nature Award winners. We are recognizing right now 2 families, the Garbage family. For their efforts of picking up trash while on walks with their family and helping to beautify their neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, for the sign recipients, the inherent beauty of our community would not exist without the care of our property owners.
Excuse me, there was one more family there?
They're not
here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The inherent beauty of our community would not exist without the care of our property owners. The following awards give recognition to owners who have set an example and inspired their neighbors and other residents within Homer Glen. These award recipients will receive a sign to be placed on the property which is being recognized. When I call your name, please come forward while I read your award acknowledgement. Proceed to the mayor to receive your certificate and have your picture taken, and then Gary will receive your sign and return to your seat. So we'll start with Patrick and Christina Maroney. Please come up. For their efforts in creating a stunning backyard full of colorful annual pots, many varieties of hydrangeas, garden nooks, and a vintage Cinderella carriage adorned with hanging baskets of overflowing annuals. Thank you very much, Patrick and Christina.
Sir?
Next up, Debbie Ray. For her efforts in creating a Mackinac Island themed garden, an island in Michigan known for bicycles and old-fashioned charm, and sharing her garden through a virtual tour on the Homer Glen Gardening Club Facebook page.
I saw you smile.
We can see in your eyes.
And now we have Danelle Zawatsky. For her efforts in creating an extensive garden sanctuary filled with a variety of individual gardens, hardscape, built garden structures, a naturalized planting area, and a newly constructed vegetable garden area with raised planters, and demonstrating how items can be repurposed to create a unique garden feature. Thank you, Danelle. Next, we have Phyllis Sullivan. Her efforts in maintaining all of the gardens surrounding her home, especially the attractive gardens at the entrance to the mother-in-law suite of her lovely home. Thank you, Phyllis. And now we have Melissa Warren. For demonstrating a commitment to our environment through a love of gardening, planting of native plants, and the creation of a wildlife habitat, which includes a way station for migrating monarch butterflies through her extensive planting of the native milkweed. Thank you, Melissa. Okay. Okay, so unfortunately, two recipients are not here today. We have Tender Loving Care Animal Shelter for their efforts in creating a beautiful sanctuary to support the mental health of the animals that they serve and protect. The gardens at the shelter include plantings along the street frontage. The dog walk area that is kept very beautiful and a sitting gazebo are not only helpful to the animals, but to provide an attractive view when traveling along 151st Street. So an applause for Tender Loving Care. Also not able to attend, Becky Hurt, for her efforts of over 25 years of gardening on her 1.5-acre property that includes over 60 varieties of hosta, many species of the shade plants, a nature path through a forest, and a round duck pond. Thank you. So one more applause for all of the award winners today. Thank you all for attending this event and showing your support for this important Homer Glen event. The mayor and the village trustees, thank you for your support as well. Environment committee, thank you for your assisting and coordinating the presentations. And of course, Mayor, I return the meeting back to you. Thank you.
We will call for a short break for pictures. All right, we're just going to take a 5-minute break.
That was last year's.
Good.
Next time.
Yeah, I know. And we'll go to reports and communications from mayor and other officers. We start out with the mayor's report. Will County reopening. The governor's office announced that Will County has reached the threshold to move out of the enhanced mitigation restrictions that have been imposed on Region 7 for the last several weeks. Restaurants and bars can now return to Phase 4. The return to Phase 4 begins Friday, the 18th at 5 o'clock, so that was last week. I want to encourage everyone to still wear masks, wash your hands frequently, and continue to observe social distancing. We'll go to the trustees, and we'll start off with Trustee Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. On behalf of the Community Economic Development Committee, I'd like to report a few things. First is I'd like to welcome Mugshots to the village. We had a ribbon cutting there this afternoon. They are located in what was once the old village hall before the last place we were in. But we welcome them to the village, and for those who've been jonesing for Mr. Beef, Italian Beef, Carl Bonaventure, I believe is his name, will be serving Mr. Beef there as well. I'd also like to report that the gas and wash on 159th Street is proceeding with their construction. Everything's going along well. They do anticipate being open in the spring, I believe. Welcome to Good Life Physical Therapy, as they are now open for business. We will be scheduling a ribbon cutting with them in sometime in October. There are many other exciting projects happening around the village, showing that even in these difficult times, the Homer Glen business community remains vibrant and unstoppable. On Tuesday, September 15, 2020, you, Mayor, and I hosted the Business Roundtable meeting here in the Village Hall. We had about 20 businesses, about 12 in the room and 7 or 8 on the phone, which it was a pretty good turnout given that it was the middle of a business day, and it was great to see everybody. It was very encouraging. I know that you and I, Mayor, have talked about that. It was encouraging to see how many business owners, including Trustee Pesmino, were very optimistic about the climate of the business in Homer Glen. They said they've been doing well. Obviously, there are more things that can be done. And we strategized on some things. We've made sure that everybody knew about the various topics like the village loan program, the temporary sign program, which we'll be discussing a possible extension of this evening. We mentioned to everybody about the Will County CARES grant program, which is still accepting applications through Monday, this coming Monday. So we would encourage everybody to go onto the Will County government site and see if they are eligible for any of those grant funds. Again, those are monies that are going to be used. If they're not used up, they will go to someone else. There is a certain portion of those that are earmarked for us. So we would encourage them all to go out there and do that. The state programs, including the BIG, the Business Interruption Grant Program, and the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans, and also just on our village website, we put up the information on the piece about the Payroll Protection Program and the loan forgiveness and how any businesses that have gotten the PPP funding can apply for forgiveness of those loans. So again, encouraging stuff, and encourage everybody to go onto the village website. Jamie has put up all of that stuff to see if they can have those loans forgiven. It was a great meeting. It was a great turnout. It was a great brainstorming session. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, staff, for putting that on. I'd also like to report that the Village Branding Steering Group continues to meet. We have been doing a lot of virtual meetings. We're tweaking the uses and the overall timeline for the implementation of the new branding strategy, and we're looking to bring our work product before the board in sometime in October for approval. And the Village Comprehensive Plan Steering Group, we will be meeting on October 20th, I believe it is, to go over the next few chapters of the comprehensive plan that we are looking to overhaul. Ultimately, we'll end with some open houses and public meetings before coming to the board for approval and for further discussion. And as always, I want to end with now more than ever, shop and dine local, Homer Glen. Thank you very, very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. Trustee Neckel.
No report at this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Trustee Sweet.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting for the Environment Committee, just a reminder, as we mentioned during the Homer Glen Lions Day presentation, that the Environment Committee is encouraging residents to celebrate Homer Glen Lions Day, which is September 26th, by participating in a casual cleanup of Homer Glen parks, trails, and neighborhoods. Garbage bags, gloves, and grabbers will be available at the Scarecrow pickup table in front of Village Hall on Saturday, September 26th from 9 a.m. to noon. For those who select their own day for cleanup, supplies will be available at Village Hall for a limited time. I do have one more item I want to mention, Mayor. It doesn't relate to the Environment Committee. But I would like an apology from Trustee Pismino for using my name for something I did not agree to. In a recent conversation that we had, I agreed to have Will County Sheriffs do a workshop at a board meeting, reminding residents, once again, about locking car doors and other such items. I even told you to tell the village manager to list it as an agenda item. I did not agree to have this board presentation hijacked and turned into a different venue. That concludes my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Trustee Sweet. Trustee Caprio.
Hi, Mayor. Reporting on behalf of the Public Services and Safety Committee. A few hours ago, I was actually informed that Illinois American Water does have a water main break that is affecting 131st through 143rd Street in Parker and potentially as far as Stonebridge. They have dispatched crews and they are on their way to fix that water main break. I happen to be on the phone with somebody I know in that area, so if you're having issues with your water, it may be running slow or discolored, it's because of that water main break and they will have it fixed, they said this evening. Also, for Lieutenant Holly and his crew, I've also been forewarned again that Golden Oak subdivision behind the Purple Onion has had a lot of speeding incidents, a lot of drag racing now that I'm hearing. So we'd like to make sure that we avoid having those people do that speeding and reckless driving through that community and may want to police that area just a little bit more. Other than that, no report on the festival committee at this time, and that is all for my report.
Thank you, Trustee Caprio. Trustee Casarino.
Thank you, sir. Reporting for the Parks and Recs Committee, construction of the park and Lenby Walks Estates is underway and progressing on schedule. All the playground equipment has been installed. Next week, the contractor will install drainage, and pour concrete curbs around the playground area. We are still in the process of naming the park and should have something very soon to be presented. Last Saturday, we had our first beanbag tournament at Heritage Park. It was very successful, with almost 24 teams consisting of 48 registrants and around 50 spectators. The food truck of the day was Smoking Z's Barbecue, which was loved by everyone who attended. Speaking of events, the village will be holding quite a few fall park events. We have the Heritage Park Scarecrow Walk, the Spooky Park at Heritage Park, the Booty Full House Contest, the Dress Your Pet Costume Contest, that one sounds fun, and the Pumpkin Carving Contest. All of these events are with the current health restrictions in mind. Dates and details will be available on the village website and on the official Homer Glen social media page. And finally, due to popular demand from the residents, given a few successful test runs, we were bouncing around the idea in the park committee and creating a food truck program in the park in which vendors can sign up to participate during assigned days and times. This will be strictly for Heritage Park, and it has nothing to do with other conversations we've had on food truck licenses throughout the village. The village staff is looking into a few ideas so that we could present to the board at a later time. And now in response to Trustee Suisse, Madam, I do apologize if you were given the impression that I took your seal of approval to provide a very needed, organized session for our residents. I did call you and I asked your opinion, but never have I ever said that you authorized it or you gave the go-ahead. And if you were informed erroneously, I'd love to find out who that was, because I would like to correct them here and now. And that ends my report.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Gazarovski. Next will be public comment. Next agenda item is public comment. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Mayor, did you skip that?
Oh, that's right, I gotta do the village clerk, but she's not here, so it's not fair to Carrie. I'm gonna ask the village attorney.
No report, Your Honor.
Public safety officials, I know Jim wants to say something.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Everybody, I apologize. I usually try and go off the cuff, but I have actually prepared remarks this evening. And so you can hear me, I'm just going to keep the mask to the side. Homer Glen, as we all know, is a wonderful community. On behalf of all the Sheriff's Office personnel, I can honestly say that we love serving and protecting Homer Glen. Year in and year out, Homer Glen is ranked as one of the safest communities in the entire state. Sheriff's Office personnel that work here are very proud of that. Most of the deputies and command staff that work here year in and year out. At our yearly shift picks, they continue to pick Homer Glen. They are fully invested in this village and are truly your hometown department. We also know that we can't do this alone. Homer's motto is community and nature in harmony. The safety of this town is maintained by the police, the mayor, village manager, village staff, board of trustees, public safety committee, public safety service entities, businesses, and especially you, the public, working together in harmony. The citizens are our eyes and ears on the street. The more eyes out there, the better. Citizens, you don't have to live in fear. Being aware of your surroundings empowers you. If your gut is telling you that something is not right, call the police. We are paid to answer these calls for service. You are not bothering us. Everybody knows, but I just want to remind you, for any and all emergencies, please call 911. For those of you that do it on a cell phone, please remain on the cell phone so we know your exact location and can get as much information as possible. For non-emergencies, dispatch for the Will County Sheriff's Office can be reached at 815-727-5600. 8575. Calling that number will also get you to the different offices, like the traffic office, records, and whatnot. And I always want to tell people, if you're not sure if you're dealing with an emergency situation or not, instead of wasting time, dial 911. Time is of the essence. Our service to Homer Glen is not just a job, but it's a calling. We have embraced this town personally, and a lot of what we do goes well beyond just simply answering calls for service. Thank you, Mayor Yukich. Thank you, Village Manager Freiling. Thank you, Village Board of Trustees, all of you, for your unending support of everything that we do up here, and for your devotion to this community. If anyone has any questions, concerns, feel free to come to a Public Safety Committee meeting, which meets on the first Wednesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. right here at the Village Hall. Or you can always reach out to us anytime you want, by the phone numbers we listed or however you want to get a hold of us. Remember, we're all in this together, and all of us are united for a common good. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Village Manager?
I can't follow up on that, so I have no report.
Now it's public comment. And we have Mr. Gray. Podium's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I've stepped away from the dais tonight to comment as a resident and a homeowner of Homer Glen and Homer Township on the transfer of stewardship of the road district to the village. The Township Board has placed a question on the November ballot, and the wording is very misleading. It asks if we should abolish the road district and transfer the authority and assets to the Township Board. This may seem like a good thing, but it's really not in the interest of Homer Glen or the taxpayers of Homer Township. This authority and the assets need to be administered by Homer Glen for the Homer Glen roads. We should not have these services dictated to us by a board that has other priorities. I firmly support the transfer of stewardship of the road district to the village, as this is the next logical step in the future of the village. Whenever possible, Homer Glen should be in control of our vital services. The contractual partnership Homer Glen has with the road district serves as well as the young community. It's now time for us to take control of these services. 20 years ago, the residents passed the incorporation of Homer Glen as a village in order to guarantee that they would be able to protect their interests and determine their own future. Incorporation was later bolstered by home rule status, which again secured the necessary tools to make the decisions that were in the best interest of village residents. I'm urging all of Homer Glen to vote no on this referendum in order to preserve the authority of the Road District Commissioner to continue to negotiate directly with the village and the other equity partners in this critical matter. We can't always be certain that the person in charge of the road district will have the best interests of the Homer Glen as a priority. This is the right thing to do, it's the right time to do it, and it's the right direction for the village. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Gray. Next on the consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? 1, the accounts payable for the period of September 11, 2020 through September 24, 2020, in the amount of $727,168.33. The Treasurer's report of cash and investments for the period ending on August 31st, 2020. The pay estimate number 1 from Len Cox and Sons Excavating for the 2019 drainage program in the amount of $38,486.46.
So moved.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk? please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet? Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pedina?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve ordinance number 20-043, an ordinance approving one, special use permit for a major amendment to the Homer Glen Plaza PUD, and two, site plan approval for a certain real property located in the C2 local business district at 12845 West 143rd Street, Homer Glen, Illinois. The PUD amendment includes a variance for the copy area for the proposed wall sign for Pet Supplies Plus, case number HG-2011-S.
I so move.
Trustee Gabriel,
Second.
trustee Gray. Discussion.
Mayor, I'd just like to say I'm glad to see some movement over at that development. It started out with quite a flare, and it seemed to have tapered off a little bit, so it's nice to see some interest over there. This is a good use of that piece. I know it's a little different than was originally proposed, or now kind of redoing those buildings, so it's good to see them mixing it up a little bit. And this is the same variance that we approved a year and a half ago or so for the Dollar Tree, so it's the same exact size, so I think this fits right in there with that, so I'm happy to be on this motion with trustee Caprio.
Yeah, and I'd like to also comment that I'm glad that we were able to work out the details of the signage and size and matching everything that they've done. And we welcome them and hope they do well in Homer Glen.
Yes, and I'm very happy to see another business come in, where other communities unfortunately are having a lot of businesses leave. So, good for us, and good for that. Any other comments? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pedina?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Motion carries. Number 2 is tabled. Correct. So next, number 3, amending billing and filing of notice of lien, Article 1, collection and disposal of solid waste. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 20-045, an ordinance amending billing and filing of notice of lien, Article 1, collection and disposal of solid waste of Chapter 166, sanitation of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, by adding the assessment of administrative and attorney fees?
I so move.
Trustee Sweet,
A second.
trustee Caprio, discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Sweet?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Pedina?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, ordinance number 20-046, approval of modified standards for temporary signs. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 20-046, ordinance granting approval of modified standards in lieu of 220-1005-E.2 of the Homer Glen Village Code for temporary signs through December 31st, 2020, as part of the 2020 Economic Recovery Plan for Homer Glen?
I
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
I'll second.
trustee Backel, discussion.
Mayor, I'd just like to mention this is part of what I mentioned in my report about our business roundtable that we had discussed with the business owners. This is a relaxation of our temporary sign ordinance that allows for a few additional types of signs as well as the longevity of how long they can be out there. We did mention this to the business owners when they were in, that they should take a look at this, as several of them noted that in the absence of the Homer Horizon now being defunct, that they're having a hard time getting their message out to the residents that they are indeed open and that, you know, they might be open with restrictions or whatnot. And we encourage them to look into the temporary signs and maybe, you know, deploy some of these because this will help them get through. We did note the irony of the date of our meeting happened to be the date that this originally had sunset, and we had said that we were going to bring it up at this meeting, and hope for an approval from the board for an extension of it. But it is a good thing for our businesses. It has not been overdone. I know some of our fears in the beginning were that this would run rampant, and it really hasn't. It's been used judiciously, and I think that's good in the long run. So again, I look forward to a hopeful, successful passage of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a comment there.
Go ahead.
Well, where it says, for the recovery plan, I still say feather banners are an eyesore, but that's my opinion. I do have a question on a clarification here. In Exhibit A, right underneath where they talk about with the exception of feather banners, what's not allowed. It says lighting for temporary signs is not permitted, which is true. But then in code 22010.005 E2, which is on the second page in paragraph A, it says 2 temporary signs are permitted. It says temporary sign regulations prior to economic recovery plan. And it said such temporary signs may be illuminated. Can you explain that? The differences in that? I'm not, I'm definitely not for illumination, but, I had 2 different things in 2 different areas, so I just wanted to clarify for myself.
DJ, you're gonna take that?
The first part is on page 2 of 2.
Yeah.
In this program, we said it's not
Yeah, you're actually restricting.
restricting it, so.
So in the temporary guidelines, we're actually restricting the outdoor lighting. It's more restrictive rather than saying maybe permitted. So it's actually, we're actually restricting the outdoor lighting.
Okay, so we're following the standards for temporary promotional signs as shown in Exhibit A. We're following all those
Right? Yeah.
bullet points.
Yeah.
Okay, because I saw one thing over here. Okay, that's all I needed to clarify. Thank you.
Is it possible that what's listed as the bullet points in Exhibit A is the ones for the temporary signs that are outside of the permitting process, and the ones that are written into our code book are part of the regulations for the temporary signs is part of the permit, the 91 days allowed permit process?
Yeah, they're part of the 91 days. The one in the code book are meant for the 91 days.
For the permitted portion of it.
Okay, thank you.
And again, I'd also like to remind all the business owners that this is in addition to what you're allowed by permit. You're allowed 91 days of temporary signage. So this originally was conceived as a 90-day program, and now we're going to extend it, I believe, another 90 days. But this will not eat into your 90 days of temporary signage. Now, should we go beyond that, it depends on what happens at the end of the year. If we go into next year, I believe these would go on fiscal year, is that correct, village manager? So those would not count against your temporary signage as a permit process. So again, we should encourage all the businesses to look into this and see if they can deploy some of this to help drive some business.
So I just have one question. The extension beyond December 31st, 2020 would be subject to village board approval. I realize due to the uncertainty of COVID and the business atmosphere right now, it's, we're doing this to help the businesses, but I'm just curious at what point do we revisit this?
When this gets close to running out, we'll look at it probably the beginning of December or the middle of December, so this way, if we're gonna do something, we can continue it. If not, then.
So I would just assume that by the end of the year, we probably revisit this and take a look and reevaluate. Okay.
We want to help out the businesses as much as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
But if it's not needed, fine. If the snowplows are gonna knock all this stuff back down that's up, then we gotta figure out what we're gonna do. Any other questions or concerns, or? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse? Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Pasmino?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve the village's trick-or-treat hours of 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on October 31st, 2020?
I so move.
Trustee Caprio?
Second.
Trustee Kazmino? Discussion.
I have a comment, Mayor. I just wanted to tell those that may be going door to door trick or treating that please be mindful that there are some residents that are opting out of this door trick or treating by posting their signs available on the website. So please be respectful to their wishes. If you see a sign like that posted, that's all I need to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Cosino?
Aye.
Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Backus?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve a resolution in support of jurisdictional transfer of stewardship, including real estate and assets of the Homer Township Road District to the Village of Homer?
I so move.
I'll second.
Caprio. Okay. I'm going to read into the minutes what our resolution is. This is resolution number 20-009, which reads, a resolution in support of the jurisdictional transfer of stewardship, including real estate and assets of the Homer Township Road District to the Village of Homer Glen. Whereas the Village of Homer Glen was incorporated on April 17, 2001, and upon incorporation, the village was given ownership and stewardship to publicly owned assets, including public roads and rights of way with the new corporate boundaries. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen is a young village, entered into an intergovernmental agreement in 2003 with the Homer Township Road District to maintain and regulate the roads within the village in sustainability the same manner as before incorporation. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, the village is a home rule municipality pursuant to Section 6A, Article 7 of the 1970 Constitution of the State of Illinois, and as such may exercise any power and perform any function pertaining to its governmental and affairs, the home rule powers, and whereas the home rule sales status was approved via voter referendum on November 7, 2012, which demonstrated the strong public support of the Village of Homer Glen and the desire of its residents to control its own future and destiny. And whereas over the past 20 years, the Village of Homer Glen and the Homer Township Road District have collaborated and worked together for the betterment of our residents, businesses, and whereas the village has continued to grow and evolve into the strong and self-sufficient village it is today, which now includes over 157 miles of village-owned streets and assets. And whereas the unincorporated areas of Homer Township now comprise only approximately 18 miles of streets and will continue to decrease into the future. And whereas the City of Lockport residents who reside within Homer Township have been paying road and bridge taxes to the township without receiving full and fair services. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen, Homer Township Road District, and the City of Lockport agree that this is not a fair governmental representation or taxation. And whereas the village will continue to grow, build and develop into the future, including the construction and maintenance of additional new roads, sidewalks, trails, and other public infrastructure. And whereas both the Homer Township Road Commissioner and the Homer Glen Village Board agree the village should control its own future, including the planning, maintenance, and budgeting, and construction of its own public infrastructure, both present and future. And whereas the Illinois Highway Code grants road districts the authority to exercise all of the powers granted in the code, and specifically authorizes road districts to acquire by purchase, gift, or legacy, and to hold property, both real and personal, for the use of its inhabitants, and again to sell and convey the same, and to make all such contracts as may be necessary in the exercise of the powers of the district, 605 ILCS 5/6-107. And whereas Illinois Highway Code allows for the road district to sell its surplus real estate, its idle personal property to a municipality. Specifically, section 6-201.10 of the Illinois Highway Code grants commissioners and road districts authority to make arrangements with the highway commissioner of any other road district or with the corporate authorities of any municipality located in the same county or an adjoining county, or with the county board of the county in which such road district is located, or any other adjoining county, for the lease or exchange of idle machinery, equipment, or tools belonging to the district. Such terms and conditions may be mutually agreed upon, and whereas the Illinois Local Government Property Transfer Act provides a legal mechanism for certain units of governments to transfer real estate between one another. Whereas both the Village of Homer Glen and the Homer Township Road District are units of the government, and as such can employ the Illinois Local Government Party Transfer Act as a legal mechanism to accomplish the voluntary transfer of property between both governmental units, and whereas the Illinois Highway Code can be employed as a legal mechanism to transfer the surplus real estate and personal property from the Homer Township Road District to the Village of Homer Glen. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the village president and the village board of trustees of the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, by and through its home rule powers as follows. Recitals. The foregoing recitals are hereby incorporated into this resolution as if set forth herein. Section 2, transfer to stewardship process. The Village of Homer Glen intends to pursue the transfer of stewardship of the Township Road District. The village commits to work collaboratively with all the impacted parties to ensure a balanced and equitable transfer. These impacted parties include, but are not limited to, the City of Lockport and its residents residing within the Homer Township, the unincorporated residents of Homer Township, the Homer Township Road District, the Homer Township Board, and most importantly, the residents of the Village of Homer Glen. Setting the date for the public informational meetings. The Village of Homer Glen hereby schedules the following public informational meetings for the purpose of discussing the proposed transfer to stewardship. On October 6, 2020, 7 p.m. here at Village Hall, 14240 West 151st Street. Then the second one would be October 12, 2020, 7 p.m. in Village Hall. And the address again is 14240 West 151st Street. These meetings will be open to the public to attend, and will also be accessible via Zoom. Those in attendance will be required to wear face masks and adhere to the social distancing requirements. Effective date, this resolution shall be in full force and in effect upon date of approval.
Mayor, I'd just like to clarify for everyone in the audience, everybody listening, this resolution is purely exploratory, correct? Until we get all the workshops and resident feedback and those two other workshops and informatorial meetings, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Any other questions? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I believe Commissioner, Road Commissioner DeVito's here. Would like to say a few words.
Mike, did you add anything to that?
No.
Whereas?
All I can say is, wow. For me, this was just a concept of thought 20 years ago in corporation. For 16 years, I've been the highway commissioner, and I've been working toward this. And to see it at this point, and to see that resolution, how well it was written, I commend you. It really made me feel good to see it get this far. You know, when you work on something this long, and then to see it come to fruition, it feels pretty good. To me, this is any different than a corporation. You know, I knew it was good for the community. I dedicated myself to it, and we did it. We did it well. Is it any better, different than the fest? I mean, the fest was always a dream of mine until we got a few people on the committee that shared that dream. And we pulled it off. It's a good thing, and it's good for the community. I've always viewed this as part of the natural progression of the growth of this community, that this would happen. I always wanted to be part of it, and now hopefully I can be. I'm really looking forward to this. I know it's the best thing for the community. And I can say this, that just how well we do this depends on us as elected officials. These people elected us to make their lives better. And just how well I do this as a highway commissioner, how you do this as a village board, how the township handles this, how well we do the logistics, is how it will greatly impact the benefit on the community. I really mean that. I'll be here for these public meetings. I can tell you right now, I invite all the questions. I want everybody to come, ask the questions, ask all those hard questions you think you have. And if you can't come, send them ahead of time, we'll address them. Again, I'm really looking forward to this. I want to thank the board for the cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Backel?
Aye.
Trustee Sweets? Trustee Caprio?
Aye.
Trustee Kazimino?
Aye.
Mayor Yurkich?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next would be workshop, overview of Homer Glen's new GIS maps and applications.
Mr. Mayor, while they're, oh, I just broke my hands. Mr. Mayor, while they're sitting down, I just want to have a few opening comments. I think that you're going to find this workshop quite informative. A lot of people in the community don't really have a good idea of what GIS is or why we use it, and how important it is as we continue to grow and evolve, and how important it is to use the information in terms of the mapping to make good policy decisions for the future of the community. So you're going to see tonight that the presentation is kind of divided up between some of the staff members. They're each taking a portion of it to show you in real live time how we utilize the GIS, the advances we made in the last year, and what our plans are for the future as well, as it relates to our GIS planning.
So, excuse me. I'm going to give a quick overview of the GIS program, what we did so far, and what we kind of created three big data viewers. So this is part of the 2021 GIS work plan we have, and the data viewers we created so far are available properties, land use viewer, storm sewer atlas, and by the way, these viewers are interactive maps, which meaning we can actually get into and query data, search for information, compared to the static maps we have been using in the past. And these maps actually will help the village board to make more informed decisions and for allocate resources for future maintenance plans. The next slide. So starting in January, we started working on basic zoning map and the subdivision map. We added layers such as school district, fire district, and FTA boundaries. One of the upcoming late fall project is we're going to plot the street light location maps using GPS receivers, and I'll show that in a minute. Other potential applications include plotting locations of trees. I know John Robinson would like to do that as a future project. Fire hydrants, mapping code enforcement data, and crime data as well. Those are potential applications. So I'd like to quickly show the GPS receiver, the village plot, the first GPS receiver, and we're all excited to get this. Can't wait, some of the staff members can't wait to get trained on this one here. So this one, I believe, it accesses multiple satellites at the same time. And Mike, our consultant, mentioned it could even access European and Chinese satellites. Not that we need it, but it can go that far. So this is very exciting for us to have this, toy to actually do some real good work. And I think one of the benefits we're getting being next to the tollway, we're getting free real-time network signals from the tollway, which if we didn't have that benefit, we would have paid $1,700 in subscription every year to get the connection to the real-time connection network. So that's added benefit being next to the tollway.
So I'm just gonna add a little bit here. So this will actually allow us to go out in the field and we will log the coordinates exactly of the thing that you're mapping. And the savings that PJ has mentioned is because of our geographic location to 355, we get more accurate data than other communities that are further away from us. And we also are able to receive that data for free of charge from the tollway as well. So those are added benefits for our geographic location. So this is going to make the tracking and the mapping of these things much more user-friendly for the village.
And also the accuracy is like within 3 inches of the location versus if you use a tablet or a smartphone, the accuracy is like 16 to 30 feet versus 3 inches. This is so that makes it that much accuracy. So, so another aspect of the GIS project is to get staff trained so we can maintain all the maps that are being created. So Mike Down, he actually did our first training on June 25th, and we're doing that on an ongoing basis. All the key development staff are getting trained as the keepers of the maps, so we maintain the maps going forward. And once we establish all the basic data for internal staff, our next step is to share the data out to the public, which we actually started doing with the Jenny's available properties. It's live now on the village's website, which Jenny's going to show that in a minute. So we're going to push this out to the public as we complete each one of these maps. For operational efficiency, with the control the cost, we're not using the ArcGIS desktop licenses. We're just using this online program, which is shareable among all the staff. So we're trying to keep the costs down while we're doing all the work. So another goal for us is to acquire our own server. Right now we're hosting a mic on your server, right?
You're hosting everything on ArcGIS Online right now.
Yeah, online. So eventually we'd like to have our own server so we can host the data and push it out to the web. We can store more data. So that's our long-term goal. So the next slide is pretty much what Mike Dam helped us to get here, to streamline the data to create the ArcGIS platform. This is all the background work he did. I won't necessarily go through every bullet point. This is what we paid for him to do it, and he did. Just want to share that with you.
Can I ask a quick question? Why would we want our own server versus the hosted solution?
Mike, you want me on it? I know he's the expert on that.
So that's what we talked about with staff as a long-term goal. So that is when you start to create enough of your own GIS information that you want to keep it locally in-house. So when you start to move to an enterprise database such as SQL or something else where you have a lot of things talking to it and a lot of data in it, you're going to want to keep that in-house for security reasons. And then what you have is you have ArcGIS Server, which is sitting behind your firewall that will serve out only certain things that you allow real-time from your database. Right now, we're using kind of a temporary solution of there's only limited data that the village has right now, so we're hosting everything in ArcGIS Online.
it's very secure there, but it is not local, stored in-house here. So long-term goal with most GIS is to have your own internal GIS data stored and then serve it out as needed. So that just becomes, as it gets larger and larger, there's more functionality to be had with having it local and serving out. You're not at that point with the amount of data that you have right now.
No, and we would have
It's
speed.
a long-term goal.
We would have speed efficiencies having it internally, but we'd also have backup issues that we gotta make sure that we have a cloud backup of some sort to make sure
Yeah.
that data never goes.
It becomes standard with that stuff, but once you start tying it into other things, the typical progression is when it's small like this, it's starting out just online, maybe then move to a hybrid solution, maybe have someone else, we host data for certain places with our server, and then move internal if you get that large.
Okay. Thanks.
So without further ado, I'd like to Jenny to show the available properties we ordered.
I'm just going to this format so I can quickly get into some other tabs that are going to be opening at the bottom for me. But we've always had an online space and property inventory on our website, but it's been a static kind of presentation, and I'm going to just show you what it looks like real quickly so you can appreciate better the new GIS platform. But this conversion of the property inventory to the GIS platform is very supportive of one of the village's strategic plan initiatives to update the marketing and improvement strategy. And also, I just want to put this in context, there's other things that support that initiative, which include the ongoing branding project and also the comprehensive plan update. So all of these things coming together are going to help the economic development effort to update the marketing strategy. And it was mentioned that the available properties inventory is now live on the new platform. And now, the real benefit for the user experience is that this is an interactive experience. So this is just what the static inventory looks like that we just took down and replaced. So, see, my cursor does show. Okay. So basically what it is it's a list with all of the pertinent information. There's even links here to the email and a property slide. And if there's a broker's flyer available, that was also linked. But you didn't have the benefit of seeing an aerial or street level imagery for the site. There were ways that you could sort through different kinds if you're looking for land or retail spaces and that sort of thing, and you could do these searches. But again, no imagery available right in front of you. We had some links above for corridor maps and also a slideshow that provided that kind of imagery. This is just an example of the 159th Street corridor, and this is, again, it's static. It was a PDF. It had to get updated. We needed our GIS consultant to actually help produce this map, so there was a cost associated with that. And when there was a change in any of the sites, it would change the way that these sites were labeled, so you would have to go and update this all the time. So again, you couldn't put it against the list. And then the slideshow, it didn't show this way, it was one slide at a time, but there was helpful imagery and a presentation slide for each property, but again, it wasn't interactive and it wasn't as easy to use. So now we're going to go into the new site here. First of all, what I want to show you is this is our website, and this is the Economic Development webpage. And so on our page right now, right up at the top you see where we are, you see who you need to contact, this is where we're going to visit the inventory, and then there's all this other information on this helpful opening webpage But I wanted to just also demonstrate to you that down in this section here, we are featuring 3 properties. So we can change this over time, and these links will go to the actual GIS platform so that you can see those properties on the platform directly. So if you visit our website and you click on our inventory, and this is in real time, so it's loading it right now, this is what it looks like. So again, what's really nice about this is it has different tabs at the top that separate, here's our land sites, here's our office locations, and here's our retail and service spaces. And you see how the map changed as I was clicking through those tabs. You can take a look at any one of these locations. So this is the Homer Glen Bell Plaza, for instance, that now needs to be updated for action tonight. But here's the information that you can see on it. So it gives you a little bit of information about its spaces are for lease. It tells you about the entire PUD, the area of businesses. There's even pins, zoning, and what the comp plan has designated for it, and then contact information. You can go, these are hot links, so you can go directly into an email, the contact, and more information. You can actually see if they have a flyer. So, and then if over on the over on the map portion of it, a user now can actually scroll in interactively, and as they get closer in, the zoning shows up. And you can pan around and you can see what is in the area. So this is all tools and opportunities that users have at their hands right now. I can also, this is the back side of the GIS platform, and I can create a special map designated to show certain sites, and I can send that to prospects. So for that Homer Glen Bell Plaza, I went ahead and created this web mapping application, and in real time, I just want to demonstrate, after you created that web map application, here it is, and I can go down, and I can copy this URL, and then I can come up, and I can send this to somebody, and when they open it, this is what it's going to look like. So here it shows the site, and you can see that there's little tools that someone can play with here. If you click on this, this is a base map gallery, and so say you want to see what this looks like with aerials and labels on it, and there you go. So that's very handy. You can zoom in and you can actually see what's going on. So you can see the 3 buildings that are there on the site right now. There's also opportunities, if you want to share this, there's the link. You can share it out. This would be a user doing this. Say a broker wants to show it to a developer or an end user. They can also print it if they want to. So there's all these different functions for being able to share a web map application.
If it's open land, can they measure?
Pardon me?
If it's open land, can they measure with this tool?
You'll show that.
On the site itself. Yeah, let's see here.
Click on the dot, just on the dot on your map.
Sorry?
Show the, show the dot on your map that you made, shows the attributes. It's not just the dot.
That's correct.
Sorry, it's
Okay.
not really.
We'll go back to it. Okay, here it is.
On your map.
Oh, on the map that I gave.
Yeah.
I think I already closed it down.
I think it's the last tab to the right.
Yeah, the answer to your question is yes, you're able to.
It's like Google Maps.
Here you
Yes,
go.
yes.
This is what you're talking about.
If you want to figure out what the square footage is, you want to figure out what the distance is from that piece of property to something else, you can actually use the tools within the system and it will calculate that for you.
Right. And what Mike Don was pointing out is, I failed to mention that you can click on these locations and all this information will pop up.
This was not a test, I was just asking.
We're getting used to the new system here. It just launched yesterday, by the way.
We haven't made the other layers public yet. Once the other departments allow those to be public, she can incorporate those into her maps that she sends out to people as well, but they're not public yet, so she can't incorporate those layers in.
Okay.
And we have a lot more fields than what you are seeing on this shared map, web map, in this instance here. I'm able to control that. I can, identify which fields are going to share out, which ones I want to have internal. Like I can have some, one field is internal history, so I can have notes that I want to keep track of on a property that only I see. So that's, okay. So, let's see.
So you might be wondering, like, what type of stuff would we not want to make public? Janie gave a good example of that, but the other one is there is confidential information such as location of utilities, things like that, that are generally not made available to the public because of homeland security concerns. So those things that you would be able to see on the internal GIS system, but the public would not be able to see those things.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to give that out.
Okay, now I'm trying to figure out where my editor, I'm just going to open this up. So behind all of this is the editor, and this is, back of house. Here's all of our sites, and there's all kinds of tools up here, and I'm not going to go through everything, but this is where all of the data input happens. And there is also filters that can be applied so that I can do analysis. So I'm just going to show you in real time a quick analysis. So say I want to take a look at all the retail sites, and I want to take a look at the ones that are up to 2,500 square feet in size. And so I need to turn on my filter. And you can see the numbers of sites dropped down. So these are the sites that meet that criteria, okay? And then this also demonstrates that behind all of these the map imagery is actually a spreadsheet with all of the fields, with all of your information. And now because of the filtering that I've done, it's really showing just those sites that meet that criteria. I can go over here into my options, and I can actually export this separately from the GIS platform into a spreadsheet. And now it's sitting in an Excel spreadsheet, and from here I can manipulate it, I can produce reports, I can do analysis. There's a lot of tools, a lot of power that this gives me. And before I used to have to maintain different separate databases for tracking all of this information. Now what this has done is allowed me to just get it all into one system and make it a beautiful world, really. It makes my job much more efficient.
How are we collecting all the data on who owns the properties and?
That's something the Economic Development Department does. So, and what it takes is I stay in touch with property owners, their brokers.
I figured that was manual, but I just.
Yeah, you have to get out in the field, you have to read signs. If something's changed, you have to call people. I do a lot of internet searches and look at CoStar or LoopNet and, just get all the information that I need and stay in touch with people. So it is a lot of work. We don't have so many sites that it's unmanageable. And then the intern that we used this summer was a great benefit because this huge data input done with the help of the intern, and that was fabulous. I can't even tell you how good that was. So, I think that might be what I wanted to show you. Let's go back to slides. Okay, so then the next thing I wanted to show you is that, of course, this has to be mobile applicable these days. So this is just two examples going from left to right. If you were to, bring up our site on your phone, this is what it's going to look like. And you have the opportunity to take a look at land office or retail and service sites. And if you click on that land site, it's going to pop up, and there it should look familiar. There's the base map, and here's the listing of sites. And if you click on that first one, this is the type of display that you would see on your phone, which is fabulous because honestly, a lot of the time, brokers, business owners, and developers are out in our field touring our community, and if they can refer to something like this while they're out there, they can check things like zoning right away, or they can see an aerial or whatever. So yeah, the next bit is just if you were researching an office property, that that's what that would look like. So I think that covers my part of the presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Melissa.
Good evening. So I'm going to go over the land use viewer, which is more of kind of the general ArcGIS house for all of our information. In the past, or before we had everything on ArcGIS Online, we had only a few staff members in the office had access to our limited GIS files that we had. They were unorganized in many different locations on the network. Some of them were duplicate, and the data was not verified. We didn't know who had last updated it, how it had been updated, where that information came from. And we would also reference Excel spreadsheets, static maps that were updated maybe once a year, and then PDFs that were on the website. And I think that's how the majority of staff would do review or answer questions in the public would call. So ArcGIS Online, although we've had GIS for a long time and we've had data in the village, what this does for us is centralizes that information into one location. And we, with the help of Mike Dom and his colleagues, have been able to do a much better job of verifying where that data is. Like kind of, what's the word that you use? Increases our confidence in the data so that we know that what's in there is good and verifiable. So, and that's important if anybody has any background in databases at all. What goes in there is important, and how it's maintained long term is important. So this is not a static process either. So once we get this all up, Mike and staff have to continue to update this data, add new data, maintain the data all the time. So this is a list of what we currently have on the ArcGIS Online, which is, I'm not going to go through all the lists of this, but these are the things that have been added to the viewer. This is just what it looks like, kind of on the, with the zoning turned on. I'm going to go to the actual land use viewer. So this is what it looks like. When you come in here, it defaults to just having our boundary turned on. And you can just go in here and type in an address. One thing I like about this, I totally just forgot our address.
14240.
Thank you.
Yeah, we cover
Just every day. One thing I like about this, and if you have a lot of experience going into databases like this on other communities, ArcGIS Online, it's not ArcGIS Online, but other people's database access programs, sometimes you have to type in exactly the address to find it. Here it's really nice because you can just type in a number and it finds pretty much every address. You can click on it, whichever one is there. So let's just go here. This is just the, kind of the basic address data on this. If you come up here to the right, you'll see all those layers that I listed in the PowerPoint presentation that are currently there. Now this will grow depending on what we set, Mike sets with privileges. The staff will see something, maybe elected officials see something, maybe public see something different. So we can come down here and turn on our zoning and our subdivisions. We can even turn in our boundary agreements, which is kind of cool. Turn our addresses on. I'm gonna pop over here. We talked about using this parcel today, which is the gas and wash, because it has a lot of data in it. So if we click on this parcel over here, you can see the blue line is the boundary agreement. So we can see where we have jurisdiction over our planning decisions. When you click on the parcel, and you can see in here the zoning pops up, and there's some information that Mike has recently added, which is recent legislation on the property, and he's been pretty descriptive about this. We don't have this on all of our parcels, but I think in time it would be nice to add these planning legislative items in here for staff to utilize. And then up top, you can see where it says 1 of 2, and if you click through here, it's showing you the boundary. So if you're on a parcel and it has multiple, like data for multiple layers available, it will show you, and you can toggle through those. Just really quick, it's kind of fun. You can go over here and click on these little 3 dots and set transparency. What's helpful with this is you can come to the base maps and turn on your aerial, and then you can see zoning laying on top of that. Some other things. So this is like the measuring tool. I know Jane didn't show you, but this is on pretty much anywhere when you're in ArcGIS Online, you have kind of basic measuring tools that you can use. It's just like by feet. And it just kind of pops over there. Pretty simple, little click, clear. And then
We need this for the fest site.
no, we can use it. So there's some basic things here too. If you want to know square footage and you're just gonna maybe grab a section of the property and maybe look at a quick, I don't know, sizing the building or sizing the parking lot and do a little takeoff, you can do it in square feet or acres. So a lot of opportunity, and then filtering options, just like Jamie did for you. There's a lot of different filtering options. You can do multiple filters at one time. We could just come in here and ask, to see all the C2. Zoom out here. And it's like you can see it's on transparency right now, but you can see all those pieces. It's kind of nice.
It also has contour lines as well, right? So someone who's looking and wanting to get the lay of the land, literally, will be able to use those contour lines to get an understanding of that as well.
So you can zoom in and you'll see then. This is probably not your property. Let's go over here. So there you can see them. Contours. They're tufa contours, and they should be, they're the latest based on what Will County has available. 2017.
They only show up at the program screens.
They're there. It's just like it's kind of slow. I was on my
That's a very large data set.
Yeah. And then, what I like, consistency of what people see. So being able to print, I can print, front office staff can print, public can print a map, and it's always going to look the same. So that's a nice thing for consistency. So I'll just show you what that looks like.
As developments come online, you have to add those to the GIS system, right? Name them.
Right. And currently Mike, his company does that anyways for us right now. So We've never really had a GIS person in the village, not that there's been some planners in the past that have done some minor GIS work, but I think in general, as of lately, Mike's team has been managing that. So if there's a zoning change throughout the year, we do zoning changes once a year, it's a map, it doesn't get updated until the end of the year, once at a time, once a year.
Right, and the aerial maps, they, those are, only get updated every so often as well. Those, we have to get them from an outside source as well. I think one of the things that's important to point out about this is a lot of this information is interactive, but what our goal is one, ease of use, right? Being user-friendly for the end user as well. But then also, how do we go to that next step where there are larger communities than Homer Glen typically have a GIS dedicated staff. That's all they do all day long.
Yeah.
We're not at that point yet. So we're able to do it through our contractual relationships and with the staff that we have, the interns and stuff. But as you continue to grow and you continue to put more information into the GIS program, then that's where you may evolve to where not only do you have someone to oversee the inputting of the information, keeping it updated, but also in doing the analysis behind it, like almost like a GIS analyst. What they say is, for example, I'm going to use Joe as an example here. Over time, you can track where are your property maintenance complaints coming from within an overall community. And by mapping those on a map, you're able to determine maybe there's certain areas of a community that need more attention or special resources allocated to them because of that. Where is new development occurring in the community? Is it one area versus another? You can map all your building permits. You can map what type by type. There's a lot of information you can put in here. Parks, and then you putting in all the equipment, the date the equipment was installed, and then you can generate reports that shows you what should your 5-year capital improvement plan be based on that information that's in there. So it really is a tool for making good public policy decisions too in the long run as well.
Does this allow for topographical? It does, so we could actually figure out mitigation of flooding issues, things of that nature.
There's a lot of different things, yes.
Actually, the project that you guys are working on for your committee, we're using GIS to map the responses to the surveys of the residents who said, yeah, we're interested in participating in the long run pre-cleanup. And then we're taking that information and we're mapping it out. We're determining where are the best places to do those projects based on the response. And we're able to do it by using GIS.
Okay, thanks.
Was that the maps that we received from you, Mike?
Those were just the basic maps, but all of that data will be included into the GIS, and we can, as the manager mentioned, we can certainly print out different reports of different, I think locations of, okay, here's who's saying what and who's allowing what,
Right.
what responses we're getting, that sort of thing.
And then public information versus private information. Well, if we wanted to, we haven't done these yet, but again, many other communities, they map the crime statistics and where is crime occurring. That is obviously something that you can then utilize to determine whether you need to allocate additional resources towards public safety, right? But that's not something you're going to want to share out to the public. That's something we're going to want to keep in interior and private.
Will we see what surrounding communities, especially around our periphery, are doing as far as improvements to utilities, land use, things of that nature, so that we can make decisions in certain areas based on what's happening around them outside of our corporate boundaries?
So, and Mike can chime in if he wants with this, because utilities is kind of a tough one. So, Mike's going to go over, Mike S. is going to go over what we have so far with our stuff, right? We've got our storm system now mapped, but we don't have the privilege of having our water in the majority village mapped because it's not controlled by us. So we won't have that in GIS. It's just likely not going to happen, correct?
No, but there's definitely the ability to collaborate with other villages.
Right, but I think it won't be as tangible right in the system for us. I think we would have to
It depends on
have
how-
agreements with them and things like that. I think it's not there's not one answer for all that, Keith. I think it's like a case by case with each village.
Depending on your relationship with them, we do things with other villages and cities where sometimes we're the GIS department for both of them. So it's real easy for us to connect, and once they agree to allowing it, the sharing it as a read-only, so that they can pull it up, because maybe they have water mains running down the same road, things like that. We run into that a lot. We have Shorewood and Joliet and Shanahan all sharing their stuff between them, so they have access in their own maps to bring in the other town stuff and read-only to see where it is. But it really depends on your relationship with them and whether or not they're willing to share that. And but if they're on ArcGIS Online, it's pretty easy to be able to share that data back and forth in a collaboration.
Any other questions? So this is just a little bit of a recap. You know, we currently use the GIS right now to just reference parcels for reviewing building permits, answering zoning questions, answering questions from the residents and business owners in town, reviewing zoning cases, providing data to our consultants who are working on the comp plan and other numerous long-range planning initiatives. And in the future, we're very excited about this becoming accessible to the public. And then staff, like I said before, we will just have to continue updating our existing data that we have with new attributes, so adding new information into each one of those layers, we get it available to us, and then collecting new data, which I know VJ talked a little bit about our new piece of equipment, which is super exciting, but you know, I think we're looking at Mike Eston talked about streetlights that we're looking to gather that data on. As we build new trails, we can attach this thing to a golf cart and drive down the trail, and it will take with accuracy a line, it will make a line in the system that will come right into our GIS, and then we can add attribute data to that trail to say whether maybe it's asphalt, maybe it's not asphalt, maybe it's got, you know, like the width of it. You know, there could be all kinds of things in that data set. So it's really exciting. And this is exactly like what Jamie showed you. There will be, this one will also have a mobile view, it will just be like this, and when you click on a parcel, it would just pull up those layers, just like you saw on the, in the browser window.
So Melissa had mentioned, we kind of discussed a little bit earlier too, obviously one of the aspects of the GIS is the storm sewer system. So obviously, you know, this is going to be an interactive map which will have all of our storm sewer system on it, manholes, pipes, outfalls, detention ponds, etc. And then there's obviously multiple things that we're going to be able to utilize that from as far as staff. One of the things over the last couple of years, the Village of Homer Glen has become a what's called an MS4 community. The IEPA requires communities over a certain population and within a certain location to other communities to become what they call an MS4 community, which is a municipal separate storm sewer system. And what that requires is we're required to monitor and basically manage any kind of, definitely erosion control, but also any kind of illicit discharges into the creeks. We're required to do inspections of the outfalls, both any kind of residential outfalls from our storm sewer system, but also any kind of commercial or retail outfalls that are going into the creek as well. And that's typically on an annual basis that we're going to be doing those inspections. So one of the things that, one of the first and specific requirements for that MS4 permit was that we were required to create or come up or provide or possess a storm sewer atlas. So the village, we unfortunately didn't have that information. We had numerous plans that were provided to us from the county, but we had no one source location to look at our storm sewer system. If we do get any kind of, to perform these inspections, we can go to this map now, we can print out the various locations of the outfalls and then go do those inspections. We can import that information if we needed to into the report, into the GIS system, to kind of explain, you know, when we've done these inspections and that sort of thing. One of the other things that we can certainly use this equipment and this program for is
the illicit discharges. I know in the past, a month or so ago, we had some calls about concerns about possible contamination that was entering into the creek. So we were able to determine what that was, and it was the result of a water main break. But one of the ways that this system can be utilized is, obviously the first thing we would want to do is try to track down what that illicit discharge is, where it's coming from. So we can certainly use the storm sewer atlases to basically track it from where is it entering the creek, follow that system back, and try to determine where that location, where that source of that contamination is coming from, and obviously, stop it as quickly as possible. So these are, basically maps that we can certainly use to do that. As we go forward, obviously the village has a lot of drainage issues that we are always constantly trying to fix and repair. So the information that's contained in the Storm Sewer Atlas will be able to help us to better solve some of the drainage problems, better to try to identify where these problems are, where the system should be going to, where this water should be going to, where is it going to now. As was mentioned earlier, we've got the contours that we can bring up and the aerials that we can bring up, so we can bring up kind of a combination of the Storm Sewer Atlas over the top, overlaid over the aerials, overlaid with the contours, to get an idea of, what we can be doing to try to improve our drainage system. And then certainly if we're going to be doing any kind of future planning, any developments are coming in, where is the location that they're going to be connecting their systems to? Is there any kind of drainage area or problems in that area that we will need to identify with them? And then certainly, again, as we're going forward and doing our drainage improvements, we can include that data so that we know when these improvements were done. Oftentimes what will happen is when we're working with the Homer Township Road District to resolve a drainage issue, they will install an additional catch basin or manhole as part of our process. So these are new things that we can add that new information in, so that going forward, now we have the most current data. So that's certainly some of the ways that we can utilize the storm sewer viewers as part of the GIS. This is just kind of a basic, kind of a storm sewer viewer example of what you would see on the system. This is basically the mobile views. Obviously, most people or majority of people are going mobile nowadays. So these are some of the things that you would actually be looking at. And then what? Let's see. Let me just. Okay. So this is actually our storm sewer viewer here. So this is Woodbine West subdivision. So you can kind of see the closer you zoom in, zoom out a little bit. So here's the subdivision. You've got the detention ponds located. You've got all of the storm sewer, the catch basins, manholes, flared end sections, things of that nature. The more you zoom into this, now you've got the arrows that show the direction of the flow, where's the flow going. If you click on the structure, you'll get some of the information on what type of structure this is. So this is an open grate structure. It's a 4-foot diameter concrete structure. And then going back to that kind of that level of confidence on the data, if you look down a little bit, it says the source. So this one is based on an as-built drawing that was created in February of 2005. So the more accurate the data we have, obviously the better the map is going to be. Again, it's what you start with and what you put into there is what you're going to be able to get out of that. So certainly these are the things that are going to be able to help us going forward in determining, like I said, drainage issues and also just overall for all of the other things that we're going to use it for.
Mike, how long does it take to update a subdivision? This is from 2005. If you were to get it up to 2020, how long would it take you to update that?
Well, and that's probably one of the things that we would be updating it is, again, now we've got the equipment here that we can actually go and start locating this and actually, get the actual real-time data for that. So, this information was based on an as-built, which is much better than a proposed plan or just a construction plan. This is, so this is a higher level of what you would start with. Obviously, if we go with the actual locating equipment, we're gonna get real-time data, and that's gonna be the most accurate. And that's certainly something that, we can use going forward to slowly start getting our storm source system, as accurate as possible. Because unfortunately, when we incorporated, we got information from the county, but we got kind of a mishmash of data, of plans. Some of them are construction plans, some of them are various versions of the plans, some of them are as-built. So unfortunately, we don't have, everything is not exact in this. So going forward, as we keep going through the subdivisions, it's probably an excellent opportunity to get interns and things of that nature to go through and update this information. And again, now we have the equipment to do that as well too.
If I can add on that, so that field that says right there, as-built, that's kind of his barometer of where it's from. The lowest level would be plans, because plans, you don't know if it was built that way, and then you have as-built. And then we have multiple categories for it, even if it was field located, if it was mapping grade GPS, is high accuracy GPS. So even when you see GIS data that just says GPS accurate, or GPS located, it really, there's a very large, broad span of what the accuracy of that actually is. So there's multiple other fields in there also for locate, if it is located, what locate date it was, who located it, if it was another company or if it was someone here, how it was located, the exact time and everything like that, and the last edited user. So there's a lot of fields in there to track that information.
So let me ask this question then. HR Green has been doing a lot of the flooding in our area, and they're very familiar with this. Can we get information, or have we received information from their, because I'm sure they're using GPS technology, correct?
Yeah, a lot of times what they're using is AutoCAD files, which has that information is all included in there. So there's ways to download that information, especially once you have it. If they go back and do the as-built, any firm, but if they do the as-built then and they've got those coordinates revised in their AutoCAD files, there's a way to download that information so that we don't have to add that separately, that we can download it.
Something for the future that we've talked about is potentially modifying the ordinances to require as-built data from developments for them to actually provide the located position of the utility so that they can be brought in without the staff having to go back out and shoot them.
Yeah. And
We require as-built now.
Yeah, we require the as-built now, and what we've been doing as well too for the projects going forward is we're requiring them to provide us not only just the PDFs of the drawings, but we also are getting the AutoCAD files as well too.
Right. I'm just saying it just makes sense because we're already contracting these people. They've been through our systems. They know them, the sewer systems and everything. So I just think it would just behoove us to be able to, because we're contracting them, they should provide us with this information.
Oh, certainly, I certainly agree. And just maybe, for some of those that maybe are not familiar, the AutoCAD that's basically the drafting programs that most engineering firms use. There are basically two different programs that are used, but the majority of municipalities are using AutoCAD. And again, that's all through the computer. It's all very easily downloadable, very easily modified if is necessary. So.
Mike, I have a question for you. Real world, you just showed us Woodbine West.
Yes.
And there's that property that's just to the south of them. Their front retention areas that's had a lot of flooding issues in the past, as well as flooding across Cream and into Statler.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've looked at doing some flood remediation over there recently. So have you learned anything looking at this stuff that's coming in? Now you're getting some data from the real world, you know, what it looks like out there. So now are you starting to see things that maybe you couldn't see before because you didn't understand the flows or the directions or where all of these pieces and parts were? Is it starting to help you to formulate like a game plan for these, or you in conjunction with HR Green or whatever other engineering firm?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, we've had a bunch of this data already, but the problem is, you know, kind of as was mentioned before, it was here, it was here, it was here. This puts it all in one location. So before we were able to go onto the county's GIS site and get the contours, but those drawings didn't have our storm sewer system on it. So now we've got that where we can load that information and again, put those layers on and see that drawing where we have everything all at once. So this is definitely going to help us moving forward to better understand what the drainage issues are and how we can plan to resolve these issues as much as possible.
Thank you.
So then the next phase, what we're going to be looking to do, obviously, is the street lights. So right now, we have a very rudimentary atlas of our street lights. Basically, it's just a kind of a folder with paper sheets that of the various subdivisions with various colored dots showing what type of street light it is, whether it's a Lumec, whether it's an aluminum pole with what they call the Cobra head, whether it's the pole topper ones, and then another color for the wattage. So obviously one of the things that we're going to be doing is, especially with the new equipment we got, is we're going to be able to go and locate all of our street lights. So we'll have that actually electronically located. So in the future when somebody's looking to get the atlases of our street lights, we will certainly have that. This will definitely help us so that when we get knockdowns or we get replacements, things of that nature, any kind of lights out, we'll be able to locate where that street light is. When we do get the knockdowns, we turn that information into our insurance. One of the things that they're always requiring is the information on when was that installed, how old is that. So as we move forward with this information, we'll be able to get all of that data in here so that we can just pull up a light, click on it, and say, this thing was installed on such and such date, or it was replaced or repaired on such and such date. Whether it's high pressure sodium pressure, whether it's an LED light, we'll have all of that information, going forward. And then certainly as we are moving forward and we're getting these wireless, the small cells, we're going to be able to have that information on where are those located. Certainly the cell companies are going to be looking to get copies of our atlases so they can locate those facilities as well too. So these are just some of the things that we'll be able to use going forward, to add this information. Certainly there's going to be a lot more, but again, it'll help us to know what equipment and what infrastructure we have out there, what we need to do to make sure it's maintained properly. And then with that, I will turn it over to Joe.
All right. We've been using iWork software for about over a year now. We use it for building permits, for contractor registration, for code enforcement, our local business registration and licensing. So it serves a few functions for us as far as data keeping. It also has some capabilities as far as GIS information functionality. A little bit of that. Most of the mapping capabilities on here are data-driven. From the information that we get, we enter into iWork, like Ray mentioned. We do permitting, so we're able to pull up all our single families, the number of pools we did this year, code enforcement, sign issues that we've been out in the field, all that information is entered in here. So I'll pull up just permits first. And
pull up a map here. Also, what we're doing is currently, we've just kind of been working on this. It does give us the availability of looking at zoning maps as well. So if we get an inquiry for a permit application, or just a resident, or somebody has a question regarding what the requirements are for a certain permit, if they can build a big pole barn on a certain property, we're able to link it to zoning map as well, and see what their zone and what their requirements may be. So, this particular one, I'm gonna pull up all the above ground pools that we did this year from January to September, and we can map that. So we're able to map that and figure out where all our above ground pools are. So you can see they're designated by the little red boxes here. So we can pull up this particular parcel, and what it's showing us is that there were actually 2 permits pulled on this particular parcel this year, which first was the above ground, one was in the above ground pool, and the other one is probably going to show that it was a shed also. So we're able to pull up the parcel and find out any information. Here's our actual permit application, what's occurred there, what inspections have occurred, if there's anything outstanding, the status of it. So we're able to do that, as well as all these other types of inquiries we can do through iWork. So we can do all commercial type of permits that we issued this year, commercial build-outs that were issued this year, demolitions that occurred this year, fences, different type of inspections, just our plumbing inspections. We could show what occurred with our outside plumbing inspector, single families, all the single families that occurred this year, any of our outstanding single family TCOs that are still sitting out there. So that gives a good information for that type of inquiry. Also, we can do our code enforcement issues too. So we can map and select through zoning, code enforcement. We can see all the open issues that we have pending that haven't been closed out yet. I think currently we have 400 and some issues that are pending up, or that we did this year with some of them pending. So we have a particular property here, and it'll show what that code enforcement issue is just by tapping on it. There was some burning, it's closed. Needs some cleanup on a commercial property along 159.
I'm guilty.
So obviously that type of information isn't something we would put out into the public. You know, who made the complaint and
I was the
information. So,
You could have picked a different one.
Come on, it was not good, there was a complaint.
But it wasn't.
we currently use this also for business registration.
It was it.
So what we eventually will be able to do is map like all our, say, all our restaurants, our wellness businesses, all our whatever. So we'll be able to actually plot that and get that information and show a map. So, you know, we know where the open areas are, where we don't want more restaurants or pizza places or nail salons, and get that information. So,
I think we need another bar.
We do after this meeting.
It's a little bit of work in progress. We're still, you know, working out the bugs. iWork's actually going to be updating this based on some of the feedback we've given them in the next couple months. And we're also investigating how we can link some of this information to the other GIS program so that we can kind of get that out there in the public portal probably as well, with limited information out there. So, any questions?
Great tool.
It is. It's really fun. That's it. Thank you.
I just want to mention, you know, with the iWork, it's one-way street with the GIS. We can You can consume data from GIS, but you can't get it back. It's one way, it's only one-way traffic. It takes data from GIS, makes maps, but we can't, put it back.
They can't export it.
They can't
You can-
export it,
yeah.
you can't export it
You
back.
could, it just won't do it automatically. But like, we could give data, tabular data to Mike, or, I mean, even I can make data sets, but Mike does it for us typically speaking, but you can create those data sets from the tabular data. It's just a manual process right now.
So I know this was a lot, but we always like to share with the board, new things that we're working on, technology, right, makes us more efficient, effective in how we manage, the business of the village. So thank you for letting us share this information with you tonight. If you have any questions, we're available to answer them.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I think
Thank you.
it's a great tool.
Okay, is there any old business? Is there any new business? Yes, I have some. Yesterday, I received a Facebook message with a poster of Mike Frickalone, Steve Galich, and you, trustee Besbino. The poster was announcing a special meeting with the Will County Sheriff's Department for District 7, Homer Township residents and businesses to be held at the Megaplex. The topics to be discussed include recent crime surge in Homer Township, Will County Sheriff response to current trends, how to react when a car is being carjacked, and that's just to name a few of the items. But did you forget to discuss or inform your fellow village board members about this? The ones who you work with, and for the betterment of all our residents. Did you reach out to me as mayor, out of respect, about a very important event in our community that involves our contractual relationship with the Sheriff's Department that we pay to protect our village? Did you talk to Carla Barack, who co-chaired the Public Services and Safety Committee for all of us? They have been meeting regularly at their monthly meetings, and they make sure the village board knows of any concerns and issues. The other members of this committee include our EMA, the Sheriff's Department, fire departments, our road district, all who work very hard on behalf of our village. Did you talk or include them? The answer is no, you did not. The three of you did this apart from the village and have not put unnecessary fear in our village that our residents are not safe. This is unacceptable. You are using our relationship with the Sheriff's Department for a political gain due to an upcoming election. The entire village board works tirelessly for this village. We are supposed to be a team. We discuss things that are important for our village, and we work together to resolve these. We have a great relationship with the Sheriff's Department and work daily with Lieutenant Howley and his officers on what is happening in our village. This includes what is going on in the village and how we are keeping everyone safe and on their toes, and they do a great job for us. There are unfortunate things that happen, yes, but that is true in any community. However, we have an incredibly safe and proactive community. I truly believe that both our residents and our businesses watch out for each other. To make it appear that we are not safe for political reasons is wrong. I'm very frustrated and disappointed that you felt this way was the right way to go about this. You should not be surprised by these comments. This is not the first time you have shown disrespect from this board. Safety of our village should never become a political stunt or football. We all should be able to work together on important community issues in an open and respectful manner.
Mayor, can I respond to that, please?
Yes, you can.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I never thought I've ever disrespected this board in the past, and if I have, I'd love for you to tell me about it someday. Secondly, I was approached by Will County board members to find a venue for a meeting to talk about certain aspects of what have been going on in our community. It was not meant as a scare tactic. It was not political. In fact, myself and one of the other Will County board members are not even running. And nothing political was even mentioned on the flyer for anybody who hasn't seen it. I'm disappointed that you're making it political, and I'm disappointed that not only are you making us more of a spectacle than you already have, you're bringing it to the board now. It seems to me, sir, yourself and other board members have done nothing but put down any suggestions I've had. In fact, the business roundtable that was brought up a few days ago, I brought that up publicly during a meeting in February. I've sent emails on it, formal emails on it, twice. No reaction. Other trustees bring it up. I wasn't consulted on it. It wasn't brought to me. So are we to say that we all think that the businesses are being run out of here? Or, you know, because we're comparing apples to apples for what you said. I can't put a program out there for our residents on safety. We had a carjacking at McDonald's. When have we ever had one of those ever in our history?
We have.
Exactly. So for you to sit there and say I'm overreacting or using scare tactics in politics, I'm sorry to say it, but my job here are the residents, okay? I get elected, I don't get elected, which, by the way, I'm not up for another 2 years. So am I supposed to sit here, sit on my hands and not do anything because of the fact that I'm not running? Is that the mentality that we're using? Sir, I don't think so. Maybe I should have said something to you earlier, but it was not a village event, it was a county event. Secondly, for what? What am I going to bring it up for? So you guys can shoot it down and ignore it like everything else? I'm sorry, sir, and if I was wrong by not mentioning it to, I mentioned it to one of my colleagues, I asked her opinion. She said, speak to everybody on the board. For what? So it could fall on deaf ears, just like the Business Roundtable did back in February before we needed it, because I knew it was coming. And then now, it's okay. Well, sir, I want everybody else's connections here too. And that's my response. And I'm sorry you feel that way, sir, but that was not my intention. It was for the public good, and it was to do something right because I feel like this should have been done a long time ago.
Well, for all the times that I have gone to your business and all the other businesses in here to make sure that they are up to date, I also came back and told everyone on the board that this is what I've done. I don't go out and try to, you didn't come out to us first. You should have come out to us. And from my understanding, Trustee Solis here told you to talk to me, talk to Carrie, talk to one of the trustees. You need to inform us what's going up so we don't have something blow up in our face.
It was not a village event, and
It makes no difference.
the Will County board member approached the sheriff directly. It had nothing to do with me.
And you left.
Nothing. Our Will County board representative approached the sheriff directly. I approached our local sheriff, and I did not get a response because I figured you had something to do with it. So I said, you know what, I'm going to
I
stop.
had something to do
Sir,
with
can
it?
I finish my statement? Because
No, because I have a question. If you're saying
Yes,
that I did
I'm
something.
asking, I don't know, I put it in a question phrase because I don't know. I'm assuming, just like you're assuming. I assume. Let's all assume together, right? So can I finish? Our Will County representative approached the higher-ups at Will County Sheriff's Department, and they came to an agreement. It was not a village event, and it was not supposed to be. The only reason Homer Glen got mentioned was because of the fact I am a Homer Glen trustee, and I'm sorry, but I represent my people. And you had two other county board members that wanted to participate and do something good. I don't understand why this is even an issue right now. God forbid we do something good for our citizens, then we're going to get attacked. Is that the message that you're sending out? Go right ahead, sir, because that's what you're doing.
No, you are.
Okay, well, it's what they think, not what you think.
When you have this one trustee right here saying that she never agreed.
I asked her opinion, doesn't mean I have to follow
Oh, so that's like a rumor, so it's okay to do a rumor because.
it. What rumor? What are you talking about?
You have one person that you said.
I asked her opinion. She said, well, take it up with the board and talk to him. I already knew where it was going.
And take it to the board.
Individually, yes,
So you didn't take it to the board.
but it's not my event.
It was your event. You're.
Sir, I just publicized it. You can hear say all you want, but that's not what happened.
Oh, it's not hearsay. This is all fact. I got the thing right here, and it shows the three of you on it. All it took was
We're hosting it.
all it took is, that's your board that you work.
So it could
into.
take 4 weeks and then somebody else does it? No, we had to do it now because the problems are going on now, not 4 weeks from now.
That's not a true statement. I would have helped get that off the ground. That's
And
probably-
So, you know what? I'm sorry,
I
but
helped with the signage. I
I
would have helped
react.
with that.
I'm a reactive person, and if I'm guilty of that, then so be it. But there was no malignant intention on what I did.
You just forgot.
I
You just
forgot.
forgot to come.
I didn't forget anything.
No, you don't forget it.
No, sir.
Because every
You
time
can
you
go back and
need
forth
something
all
for
you
your
want.
restaurant, I make sure I follow it up.
Yeah, and with the dog and pony
And I-
show. What did I need from you, sir? You said no to me on everything. You wouldn't even let me open up an hour before like we've done every single year. Every year you said, Ruben, go ahead, open an extra hour for New Year's Eve. So politics got involved. Guess what, Ruben? We can't do it because you didn't ask me in time. That's bull because we've never done that before. So don't tell me that you sit there and you do me favors because you don't.
I do.
Okay, well.
Everyone else has it. They come to me, they send a letter in, we approve it. I'd have no reason not to approve it. Every meeting that we've ever been in, I have said, I want the businesses to make money. I want to be,
We all do.
I want them to be open. I'm the one that pushed for the liquor to be sold afterwards. I'm the one that told you when we didn't have, when we went back to level 3, open up the doors, have the people come in.
Sir, you didn't just tell me, you told the whole community.
I did.
Okay, so you didn't do me any favors. That's my point.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not asking for
I'm
it.
not trying to give a favor to one person.
It sounds like you are, so why are you even telling me this?
You're just twisting this.
I'm not twisted, sir. I'm stating facts. So far, I'm 10 for 10 right now.
And your own mind.
Is that
All I'm
true?
saying is, this is a board. You were voted on this board. We helped you get on this board. And we've tried to guide you in the direction at least you know how this works and how we make sure that we do right by the village.
Sir, I wasn't on any slates. You didn't help me do anything. In fact, you asked me to be on your slate, then you changed your mind, and I went on my own. 2 weeks before we started, you asked me to be on your slate, and I told you no. That's a different story. So let's get the facts straight. All right.
And when she get control. So I hope there are no more, because I'll call you out on every one of them.
Sir, you can call me on every single one of them, and I will have the answers because I speak the truth. I don't lie. Maybe you should take a few lessons on that.
After all that, does anyone else have anything to say? Then I need a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it, meeting's adjourned.